Perkins, Distinguished Toastmaster. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. How many of you consider yourself to be a salesperson? Okay, obviously not everyone was here last night at Joel's speech, but Robert Louis Stevenson says that everyone lives by selling something. So what are you selling? For those who raised your hand, what are you selling?
Kindness.
Kindness?
Fitness.
Fitness?
Jesus Christ.
Okay. Chris, what else? Real. Okay.
I think we're all selling Toastmasters.
We're all selling Toastmasters. And for those who were there at Joel's keynote last night, you should know that everybody should be raising your hand because we all sell ourselves. Okay? So that's what you're selling regardless of anything else that you might be selling, is you are selling yourself. And there's kind of two main selling situations in which you're going to want to sell yourself. One is selling a new idea. One is selling a product. Okay. Can anyone think of an example for either of those situations? Pathways? Yeah. Yes?
I have to talk my upper management into changing our product direction.
Changing product direction at work? Yep. Business model?
Consulting services.
Okay. And as Pauline mentioned at the start, Toastmasters. Toastmasters is an example of selling both an idea and a product. We all have that in common, that we should be, if we're not, we should be selling Toastmasters. We do have those other situations when we're trying to sell an idea at work, when you're trying to sell an idea at home to your spouse, to your child. When you're trying to get your child to do something that they don't want to do, you're selling an idea. But as I mentioned, Toastmasters is really both the idea and the product. Anyone have an idea how, or can give me how it's an idea, where it's an idea and where it's a product?
The idea would be gaining self-confidence, and the product would be Pathways, the education program.
Okay, and yep, close, but to me the idea is we need to be telling people that through Toastmasters we are going to help them transform themselves. Instead of just saying we improve your communication or leadership skills, which tends to be a little bit boring, we are going to help you transform. Isn't that going to catch people's attention? And we're going to do that through helping you develop your communication skills, your leadership skills, and your confidence. Okay? So that's the idea. That's the idea that will get them in the door. Now, what's the product that gets them to join? People. And what do the people comprise?
A new and improved them.
Yeah. And the program, our club meeting, that's the product. That's what we need to be selling. And we do that through having a quality club meeting. When people come and see a good meeting, they're going to want to be part of that because they're going to be able to see how it will help transform them. Okay? And it helps to retain the members as well. To be an effective salesperson, to be able to effectively sell yourself, what do you think are some of the skills that you might need?
You got to be a good listener.
A good listener. Look at that. Listening. What else? Confidence? Yep.
Benefits.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
Benefits. What benefits are you bringing?
Sell the benefits?
Communication.
Communication?
Understanding.
Understanding? Yep. Those are.
Knowledge.
And I'd say you have to have impromptu speaking skills because you need to be able to sell people in circumstances where maybe you don't have the opportunity to prepare, okay? You need to be persuasive. And you need to be able to evaluate how you do. All skills that we learn in Toastmasters, right? That you're going to use to help sell yourself in a variety of different situations. Some selling strategies are building rapport. We're going to talk about each one of these in a little more detail. Identify the need, point out the benefits, somebody had mentioned that, and ask for commitment. And then follow up. So let's look at building rapport. People buy from people, okay? They want to have some type of rapport with you to buy from you. So this says, make the customer like you. If you can get him to scratch your belly, you can sell him anything. But it's true. Who's going to buy from somebody that you don't like for some reason? I was looking for a new washing machine at one point, and I wanted a front loader. A lot of the front loaders have a very small door on them. I wanted a bigger one so I could put like a comforter in it or something. And I'm at one store, and I'm saying that I want the larger one. The salesperson said, oh, well, then you'll need this dryer. No, I have a perfectly good dryer. Oh, no, because you can fit so much stuff into this that you'll never be able to put it into your dryer. Yeah, I don't recall you being at my house. I don't think you know. I actually have an extra large capacity dryer. I can fit 3 loads out of my washing machine into my dryer. Do you think he built any rapport with me when he's trying to tell me what I need? He wasn't building that rapport. And another example here, are you marrying me to help you establish instant rapport? And he replies with the same thing. They say you're supposed to mimic what the other person is doing to help build rapport. This may be taking it to extremes. Okay, so engage in some small talk so that you get to know the person a little bit. Has anyone seen a situation in Toastmasters where you have a guest come and nobody talks to the guest? Well, what happens? Does that guest join? No. Or very, very rarely. They have to be really committed to joining if they come. I can remember one time going to visit a club when I was area director. This club had a break partway through the meeting, and during the break, the only person that went over and talked to that guest was me. And I wanted to say, don't come to this club, come to my club. We'll be much nicer to you. There was a time when we walked into a meeting one time. Our meeting's in the evening, and it used to run from 7 to 9. We walk in this night with a 2-hour meeting, all scheduled. We're meeting in the boardroom of a car dealership. We walk in, and they say, oh, starting tonight for the next 6 weeks, we're closing at 8 o'clock. Now, we had to very quickly rearrange our meeting to get it done in an hour instead of 2 hours. But during that 6 weeks, we had guests, but we didn't manage to convert any of them to a member. Most of them didn't show up until just the last minute, so you didn't really have a chance to talk to them. We couldn't have our break because we had to reduce the time. And this was the middle of winter, so people didn't really want to stand outside in the winter and talk to you about Toastmasters. We never had that opportunity to engage in small talk with them and learn a little bit about them and have them learn a little bit about us. So we were never able to convert any of those guests to members during that 6-week period. When we had our normal time to talk to them, and we always make sure, somebody was saying earlier in Monica's session when they're talking about fun and engaging meetings, it was about having food. And we always have food at our break. It's always good food because I make it. We have one of our members who takes pictures of the snack and sends it out on Instagram to her friends saying, see what you're missing? If you came to Toastmasters with me, you could be part of that. But the food means that during the break, everybody gets up out of their seat and then they interact with each other. When we have a meeting where there's no food, we may as well not have the break because everyone just sits there in their chair anyway. They pull out the phones and they start checking their phones. You get them up for food, you have the social interaction, you have the small talk, and it's always a great time to talk to guests and let the guests get to know you some, so that we have that opportunity without necessarily talking about Toastmasters. We still have that opportunity to sell them on Toastmasters because we're selling ourselves during that period of time. And then it says, remember, the secret to selling is sincerity. Once you fake that, you've got it made. We hope that we are a little bit more honest with that, but and you need to identify the person's need. Why have they, if the example of Toastmasters, why have they come to Toastmasters? Okay? And says, how can I learn about your company's needs if you keep interrupting me? Have you seen that with, you get some fairly aggressive salespeople, whether it's a Toastmaster or whether it's in another situation, you get 2 words out of your mouth about what you want, and they're starting to tell you about their product. They're not giving you the chance to tell about your need because they keep interrupting you to tell you what they think you want. Okay, Steve James says, to satisfy our customers' needs, we'll give them what they want, not what we want to give them. Okay, and that's so important. This one, can we swap glasses? It helps me see things from the customer's point of view. And isn't that how we should be seeing things, from the customer's point of view? So don't make assumptions. One of the things with Toastmasters is people come in and they say, I want to get over my fear of public speaking. What do we tend to assume when they say that?
Probably shy individuals.
Pardon?
They're probably shy individuals.
Yeah, but sometimes I think we assume that they have a bigger goal than that. I think we assume that they want to become good communicators. Getting over your fear of public speaking is not the same as being a good communicator. I had a chat with Ted Corcoran, past international president, when I was at the International Convention in Chicago. And Ted raised this. He said he had just been at a Chamber of Commerce event. He said, guy had all kinds of confidence. He had a good voice. He had absolutely no message. When the guy finished speaking, Ted said to the person sitting next to him, what was his message? And the guy stopped and he said, I really have no idea. So people can come in and say, I want to get over my fear of public speaking, and we make an assumption that they want to become a good communicator, but they can get over that fear fairly quickly. And they leave without having developed the skills to be a good communicator. Then think what happens if they go to some place and they're saying, oh, I have no problem with speaking. I learned that at Toastmasters. And they get up and give a presentation that just has no structure, no message, no whatever. What is it doing to our brand? Because this person is basically saying, I learned how to not communicate when I was at Toastmasters. So don't make assumptions. Making assumptions can also go against trying to build rapport with someone. A few years ago, we were looking for a car for my daughter. We went to this one used car lot. There was no price on this particular car. Salesperson comes out, and I said, well, we're looking for a price on this. We're looking for a car for my daughter. He says, oh, well, it's a manual transmission. Now, his assumption was because it was a girl, she wanted a automatic. No, my daughter wanted a manual transmission. We just said, no, thank you, we're not interested. and walked away. He lost the opportunity of even potentially making that sale. We wouldn't even take the car out for a test drive because of his attitude, because he made an assumption about what our needs were, rather than asking us what we were looking for in a car. Ask questions to help identify the need. When the person comes in and says, I want to get over my fear of public speaking, ask some questions about what they really mean by that. Do they understand that there is a difference between getting over the fear and being a good communicator? Ask open-ended questions, not questions that people can just answer with a yes or a no. The who, what, why type of questions, so that people have to give you more information. Probing questions. The probing questions are when they say something, you ask a follow-up question to try to get more information. So again, you're better understanding their need. And this is actually what the club growth directors were taught with the value selling for trying to sell Toastmasters clubs. And then confirming questions. So when you think you understand what their need is, you ask some questions to make sure. So what I'm hearing you saying is this: is that correct? To make sure that you are understanding what their need is. Because otherwise, you're trying to sell them something that you want to sell them, not something that they want. Okay. And then we talked about the listening skills. Listen to the responses. If you're not going to listen to what people have to say, there's no point in even asking the questions. And I'm sure we've all been in circumstances like that where somebody's asked us something and we feel as though they have not listened to our response. And how does it make you feel? Doesn't make you feel very valued. Doesn't make you feel that that's something that you want to be a part of if people aren't going to listen to what you have to say. So point out the benefits, and that was mentioned early on as well. What is it about your idea or your product that is unique, that's going to meet the needs of the person? We mentioned about Toastmasters helping to transform you. It's going to give you the confidence to get up in front of groups. It's going to help you learn to structure a speech. It's going to help you learn to develop body language, use body language in a way that enhances your speech, vocal variety in a way that it enhances your speech. Let them know how they will benefit from it. And tie the benefits into their need. If they say, well, my immediate need is that my best friend is getting married in 3 months and I have to give a toast at the wedding and I'm terrified of doing it. How can you help them do it? And be able to make sure that then in the Toastmaster situation that you're going to carry through on that. Don't get the person to join and then not giving them a speaking opportunity for 3 months, because that's too late. Their friend's already married now and they never had the chance to learn how to do them. Encourage them to bring the toast in, practice it at the club so they can get some feedback, so they can get comfortable in delivering it. Now, I mean, they also have to be realistic. We've had people come in to the club occasionally and they said, oh, I'm putting my name in next week to run for city councilor or member of the legislative association or whatever. Can you help me be a good speaker in the next week? Yeah, no, I don't think so. If you'd like to join us and stay with us for a while, but perhaps you should have thought about this a year ago before you decided you were going to put your name in. You know, there's no point in overpromising what you can actually deliver, because you're not going to keep the person if that's the case. And when people leave, because they're dissatisfied, because they don't feel that they had the opportunity to develop their skills and everything, what's going to happen? They're going to tell others. They're going to let others know that they were dissatisfied. So you're not only losing that person, you're losing a bunch of other potential members because of that person saying that Toastmasters is no good. So this one, do you want regular bottled water, low-fat water, zero-carb water, gluten-free water, peanut-safe water, or free-range water? The point is, people do have choices. Now, mind you, maybe not that many choices with water, but I wouldn't be surprised if you'll see marketing for any of those things. It's like there's a lot of things that it says there's no trans fat in. Well, there never was. They advertise it as though they've taken it out or something. There was never there to begin with. But people have options. People do have options besides Toastmasters. There are other programs, other places where they can go. None of them are as good as Toastmasters, of course, particularly none of them as cost-effective as Toastmasters. They do have options. So if you're not tying the benefits into their need, then they're going to go somewhere else and choose another option to meet their need. And Zig Ziglar said, stop selling, start helping. You want to help people get what it is that they want. We know in Toastmasters that we have the product that will help people. We need to sell that idea to them. So you can do it through a story or through an example. If you heard David Henderson this morning, and David talked about using stories, using your own stories to connect with others. Tell them about the difference that Toastmasters made in you, what it's done, how it's helped your career. Monica, I'm going to use your story, the other Monica. Yeah. Monica said that, well, Monica, tell your story about at work and what the difference Toastmasters meant with your career there.
Yes, I will say in February, I was brought into the HR office, and they said because I did not have my CPA, that I had to find another position. No, I had been working in accounting for 20 years, and I had been with the company for 5 years. But they said because of your leadership and communication skills, we have another position for you. So now I handle a $37 million budget.
So when you can tell a story like that to somebody, you can help them understand the difference that Toastmasters can make. I often say it's too bad that we can't record people doing their icebreaker. But most people they're terrified enough as it is, like to have a secret camera that's recording them. Because you do see, in a lot of cases, some really rapid improvement. So somebody comes in and they say, oh yeah, but you were all good anyway. No, we weren't. You're just seeing us after we've had some experience with it. A person in my district who was district governor after me, a few years after me, she competed in speech contests and everything. People would say, oh, but she's just naturally a good speaker. Pat said that the first meeting she went to, she wrote her name down on a piece of paper to have it in front of her because she knew without that she would forget when she stood up to introduce herself. She would forget what it was because that's how nervous she was. But when we see the person after they've had that experience, it's easy to make that assumption. So if we could show people, new members or potential members, someone doing their icebreaker, and now what they are even just 3 or 4 speeches later, and it's like, wow, that's a big difference. Maybe this is what I need. So telling those stories or giving the examples can help people connect with what you're doing and what you want to, how it can help them. And then ask for commitment. Do you, whenever you have a guest, before they leave, ask them to join? A lot of people don't. We had a person join our club one time. This was a person who was already a Toastmaster. They had moved from a different part of the district to where my club is located. They went to a number of different clubs, came to my club, and ended up joining my club. And he said to me afterwards, "Do you want to know why I joined Schooner?" Well, we're the best club. Of course you're going to join Schooner, but why did you join Schooner? He said, "You're the only one who asked me to join." I'm sure that others were probably thinking, "Oh, this is a Toastmaster. We don't need to ask him if he wants to join. He'll just let us know." But he was waiting for that. So you have to ask for that commitment. Don't let somebody walk out the door when they've been there as a guest without asking them to join. And if they say that they're not ready to make a decision, that's fine. Just ask them to come back again. I know of clubs that they won't ask somebody to join until they've come 3 times as a guest. It's one of those made-up rules that some clubs have. And, we don't want anyone to join. We want to know that they're ready to join, so they need to come 3 times. Well, I've seen people come more than 3 times and then join, and you never see them again. Having them come 3 times is no guarantee that they're going to actually come back. It always surprises me at the number of people who will pay their money and then never come back again. But the chances are there's a certain percentage of those people who are not going to come back the 3 times because they weren't asked that first time to join. You need to get the commitment. The sale is not made until you have some commitment, and you're not going to get the commitment if you don't ask. And you don't want to try to do it this way. If you buy now, I'll give you a 30% discount on the amount of time I spend in your office today. Or then plow through all of their objections and close the deal. And that's what some people think. They just try to get rid of everything, and that's what's going to convince you, even though they're not really persuading you that this is the best thing. So what might be some signals that somebody has made that decision to buy?
They say yes.
They say yes.
When they start asking more detailed questions.
Asking more detailed questions.
Pull out their checkbooks.
Pull out their checkbooks. Yeah. Even just like a smile or a nod tells you that they're interested. Yeah.
Participating in the meeting.
Participating in the meeting, yeah. You're looking for any type of affirmative gesture, statement, the participation. So smile or nod, affirmative statements, and questions about availability. So they're asking for more detail. Now, how often is it you meet? And so how often do I need to do something in the club? When they start asking questions like that, you know that they're getting to that point. They may not be 100% there, but they're more there than that they're not there. So watch for those signals, which is then your cue to say, is there anything else I can explain to you? Ask some of those open-ended questions, probing questions, and then, would you like to join? Here's the amount. Yeah, Shirley, Pauline.
I think that we all should look at everyone who's a member can encourage somebody to join. You don't have to leave it up to the officer or the VP of membership. Everyone who's a member of that club has that authority or responsibility.
Yeah, that's right. And in the same way that we want all of our members bringing in guests, it's not just up to the Vice President of Public Relations or the Vice President of Membership. Everybody needs to be out selling the club and bringing in members, and anybody can do it. If one of the things that you can do, for example, I've seen where somebody says, yes, I want to join, and oh, we don't have a membership application. I mean, I just want to go beat my head against the wall at that point. It's like, but so don't just have one person that has membership applications. I mean, in my club we have a supply box and the membership applications are in there. And then we have a breakdown of how much it will be each month because of we have club dues in addition to the TI dues. And because I've seen where people, well, okay, let's see. Okay, now it's the 1st of December. And how much is it that, look, just come back next week and we'll tell you how much you have to pay. Really? You need to make it easy for them to do it. Yes?
Yes, I was going to mention at our club, Speak Easy, we have guest packets all ready to put together with the application form, with a pink sheet that has their information. In case they don't join right away, they hand that in to us, a Toastmaster magazine, and some other brochures or things.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, when they visit, they get that right up front, and then towards the end of the meeting or after the meeting, we ask them if they want to join and they have any more questions.
Yeah, and that's good. And if you don't have a guest kit, please look at developing one for your club. We have one in our club as well. We put in the Toastmaster magazine, we put in the fact sheet, the features, benefits, and value sheet, a couple of brochures, and we've always put in a membership application, except just the other week, I pulled out one looking for a membership application, and it seems we failed to tell our new Vice President of Membership that that's one of the items that should be in the guest kit, so it wasn't there. So it's like, okay, we need to correct that. Yes, you had a comment?
We have a letter from our president
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Yeah, and that's good. Yeah, so because one thing is people like to have something to walk away with. And so if they haven't made that decision to join that very first meeting, they have something to look back through after they get home to help them make that decision. You want to make sure that there's contact information in there for the officers and that type of thing. But when people walk away with nothing, then it's easier for them to forget about the club, because, well, I don't have anything. But when they've got that package that they can walk away with, they can refer back to that. But yes, definitely include membership applications. Okay, and then follow up. Patricia Fripp says, it's not your customer's job to remember you. It's your obligation and responsibility to make sure they don't have the chance to forget you. You need to follow up with people. If they haven't made that commitment to buy right away, follow up with them. Send them an email, thanking them for coming to the meeting, encouraging them to come to the next meeting. Phone them and encourage them, or send them a letter. I remember years ago, one of my very first district conferences I went to, a club talking about taking their club from about 10 members up to 24 members. And this was a long time ago, so this was back in the day before email. But what they did, they said the one thing that they felt made the difference was that they got the address from the guest. And that night, the Vice President of Membership went home, wrote them a letter, put it in the mail, and thanking them for coming and inviting them to come back to the next meeting. And in a relatively short period of time, they grew the club from 10 to 24. They said the only thing that they were doing differently was sending that follow-up letter. You know. Follow up. If they don't come back the next week, send them another follow-up. You don't want to get to the point that it feels like you're harassing them, but then maybe wait a few weeks and follow up again. You need to let them know that you want them to come and be part of your club. For some people, it takes a lot of encouragement. Sometimes it takes a long time for them just to come in the door in the first place. And then it may take them a long time to make that final decision. I remember one time talking to somebody, I was in a business meeting with somebody, and Toastmasters came up, and she said, "Oh, I'm going to a Toastmasters meeting tonight with a friend of mine." I said, "Well, if it's tonight, then it has to be my club." "Well, that's good." She said, "I've been thinking about it for 5 years, but I've been afraid to go." But because her friend was going, then she came with her friend. 5 years is a long time. Chances are, if her friend hadn't joined, she wouldn't have joined either. But because her friend joined, then she joined. But people need that encouragement. It's a really big step. It's the same if somebody contacts you and says they want to come to the club. If you can, arrange to meet them like at the door of the building or something, so they're not trying to find their way around. Or, if they're saying, "Well, what bus route would take me there? Could I pick you up and take you?" Make it easy for them to come. And that's part of the building rapport and everything as well. But if you can make it easy for people when it's something that is a very frightening thing for them. For those of you, how many joined because when your club chartered? Okay, a few, not that many, but it's a whole lot easier to do when you're in a brand new club because everyone's in the same situation as you. But when you have to walk in when everybody else is experienced, that's a whole different situation. And I remember in a similar situation, somebody taking a literacy program, and we were interviewing them for a project we were working on, and this one person said, "I really wanted to do this because I wanted to show my kid," she had dropped out of school in about grade 9, so she was going back to get her GED, and she said, "I really wanted to show my kids that it's important to have the education." She said, "I got to the door, and I thought, I can't do this." She was turning around to go back to her car when somebody else came along and they said, "Are you here for the literacy program?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "Good, come with me." And if it hadn't been for that other person showing up right at that time, she would not have joined. And it's the same with Toastmasters. So make them feel welcome. Do whatever you can to do that. And then make sure you follow up with them so that they know you're interested in them being a member. So in summary, when you're selling something, respond to the needs of the individual. We've talked a lot about doing it in Toastmasters, but it applies regardless. If you're selling something at your work, when you're trying to get somebody to accept a proposal, it has to fit the needs of your organization, or they're not going to be interested in it. So respond to their needs. And even with trying to get a new club going in a corporation, you have to show how the club will meet the organization's goals and needs. Demonstrate your unique product or ideas. Be persuasive. And use your Toastmasters training. You're developing the skills that you need to successfully sell your ideas, your product, to sell yourself. Because remember, the product is you. Any questions or? Comments? Okay. I'll turn it over to Valerie.